Hi guys, so I've been doing farming for quite a while now, poultry farming, and from my experience, the two biggest problems that farmers face, not only from my farm, but from hundreds and hundreds of farmers that I've interacted with, considering I'm a chick supplier, and so I have to interact with a lot of farmers because they'll always come back to you, a supplier, with a lot of issues. The two biggest problems I've found out that they complain about is number one, diseases because of poor management of the farm, and number two, feeds. The prices of feeds and how to mix feed and how to deal with the whole feed thing. And it's not like I personally haven't dealt with this issue. Actually, in the past, when I just started, I once had a feed problem. You know, when I was starting out, I was told a particular figure for how much it would cost to buy maize. Now, maize is the biggest constituent of feed. You know, about 60% of all feed is maize. Now, I was told it would cost a particular figure, and when I started out, that was about the figure, but just a few months later on, the price more than doubled. I was like, this is really crazy. Now, it took maybe 2 years before it got back to such a price, but last year, it was even worse. Last year, the price tripled what it is currently. Can you imagine paying 3 times what you're paying? Really crazy. So I've personally had my own issues with feed prices, and because of that, I decided to devise a few means of how to get around the feed problem. And so I'm going to show you guys how I've actually decided to get around these problems. You know, they say once bitten, twice shy. I told myself I'm not going to get into these problems again. So let me show you guys the solution we've actually devised for this. So first, you can see the chicken houses that we have right here. Yeah, these are 2 chicken houses, each carrying about 2,500 birds on average. And so that gets to 5,000 birds right here. But I also have about 2,500 birds that are being brooded somewhere, maybe a kilometer from here on my dad's, land, a chicken house that I built on my dad's land, right where I started. So that means that I have about 7,500 chickens that need to be fed. Now, a few months back, I decided to build a store. This is a feed store. Now, before that, we were actually using one of the rooms. You know, you see that room right there, the first room on the right. That was the first room that we were using to store feed, but it would never have been enough with the number of birds that we wanted. So we decided to build this store right here that you can see we constructed with really cheap material. You can see that it was constructed mainly from iron sheeting. We put, some form of, let's get closer. You see, this is cement, some kind of flooring, and built it right to the wall to make sure that we make it a bit rodent proof. Well, the rodents have already managed to find a way in, but we'll find ways of getting them out. And then we'll get in, yeah? So this is our food dip that we use before we get into the store. And this is the ramp. I'll step back so you can see it quite easily. That's the ramp right there. And so we can get in, guys, yeah? This is our feed store. We decided to get a feed store, and it has come out to be a very, very helpful investment for me. So I'll just show you guys around quickly. Right here is feed that the guys have been mixing. So this is the feed that we are using. This is also feed. So we have 2 different sections because, like I said, we have a flock which is about 4 weeks right now. So the kind of feed that they feed on is different. It is starter feed. They feed on that up to about 6 weeks. And then right here, what you're seeing, this is the layer feed, the one that's being given to the chickens that are laying. From the point that chickens start laying about 5% of their egg production, they are given layer feed. So those ones are on layer feed. So right here, this section of the store has literally become storage for some kinds of things. Things that ideally shouldn't be here, but because we don't have space for them, we'll have to build a store for them later on. Some wire mesh, this is chicken mesh. They probably need to roll it and place it a little bit better. You can see some chain link behind there. Then at the top, you can see how beautifully aerated the chicken house is to make sure that the guys can actually get inside here and work from inside here. Then right here, we have limestone. So this is limestone. Limestone is used for making feed. I don't know if we have an open bag. I'll show you guys. Yeah, this is what limestone looks like. Yeah, and it has mainly calcium, so it is a source of calcium for the chickens. Some people use eggs, which is okay, but for me it's difficult to get too many eggshells. Getting 10 tons of eggshells. That's really complicated. Also, how they process them sometimes can be, unsafe. Then right here is a concentrate that I use for mixing the feed. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on. And then when we move on, this is maize bran. So I have some maize bran right here. You can't stock too much maize bran because the problem with maize bran is that if you overstock it, it cakes and it starts getting spoiled, yeah? So you need to open up, get it outside, make sure that it's dry first of all, but also you can't keep it for too long. The maximum advisable time is 1 month. If you go more than a month, the best advisable thing is that now you need to start adding toxin binder to the maize bran, because if you don't add toxin binder, it's going to develop, molds and aflatoxins that in the end become toxic to your chicken. So you want to make sure that you don't keep maize bran for too long. So I've stocked up maybe 3 tons or so of maize bran, all the bags that you see right there. Yeah, it's about 3 tons of maize. And then the rest of it that you see right here is maize. All this is maize. Yeah, all this is maize. So currently we might have about 26 tons of maize, which is actually not enough to take me until, the next season. You can see some of the maize right here from the bags that, the bags that have cracks. For example, if you see a bag like this one, when the bag gets torn, some of the maize pours out. So we have maize. So what the guys usually do is that when it gets sunny, they get some of the maize, take it out because we don't want it to get spoiled. This is not very good storage, as you can see. It's not a silo. So we have to get it out, take it on the outside, dry it, and once we bring it in, we keep piling it in different sections of the store, as you can see right. So I'm hoping to add a little bit more maize onto this, maybe 10 more tons to store inside here in order to save myself a few problems. So like I've already told you guys, I have about 7,500 birds around the farm, and if they're all grown up and they're adult stage, that means I'll use about 1 ton, that's 1,000 kilograms of feed each and every day. That's quite an amount. And what that means is that about 50 to 60% of your feed is usually maize, 50 to 60%, depending on the ration that you use, is usually maize. So like I told you guys, currently what I'm paying for this maize is 3 times less than what I paid just a year ago, For the biggest part of last year, I was paying about twice. But then at the beginning of last year, or in 2022, November, December, we were paying 3 times what we are paying right now. So you can imagine how bad it can get. Now, if the price of maize doubles right now, what it means is that with the amount of maize I consume right now, I get to save about $100 per day. Can you imagine $100 per day on maize if I buy right now and stock and the price doubles a little bit later on? I'm saving $100 per day. Now what that means is that over a month, I'm saving about $3,000 freaking dollars. Can you imagine how much more money I'm going to be keeping in my pockets? Imagine how much you can use $3,000 for. I mean, this structure you see right here, despite the fact that it looks, good from the outside, costs less than $3,000. I can use that money for a lot of things, and that's simply money I'm going to waste simply because I didn't buy and store the maize for when the price is low. So it's very, very important that you can actually manage the price and get to store when the price is low so that you use later. Now, if the price triples, then that means I get to save $6,000. That's crazy, isn't it? Really, really crazy. So of course, there's quite a number of things that can be done to bring the costs down, but I feel like the most basic of them and the easiest that can be done is to bring storage. Make sure that you buy when the price is low, store and utilize it when the prices are high. But of course, that's a luxury that you can only use when you do have money, yeah, because it's quite an amount of money you're going to spend to do later on. So while you're beginning, it might be impossible for you. You might have to just go around. In the end, the most important thing is to have chickens on the farm. I've seen people who are trying to build structures, stock up on things, build really huge structures. They don't have enough cash flow, but they're using all the cash up to stock up on feed, construct structures. If you don't have chickens, it's all useless. The most important thing is to have chickens on the farm. And for me, that's what I did. The chickens are the most important thing. Once you have the chickens, you can always expand and do a little bit more. So now that, we've managed to get to this point, the next thing is going to be to bring the cost of the feed down effectually, the actual feed. So right now we are using these concentrates. Yeah. Our feed mixture mainly involves the maize bran, the limestone right there, the maize and the concentrate right here. Now the concentrate has the protein, yeah, the biggest percentage of the protein. If you took a proper look right here, you would notice all the protein that it has in order to mix our feed right here. But this is quite expensive. You know, it's quite expensive. It's good and effective, but quite expensive. So since we are buying the biggest protein that we are mixing the feed, the other alternative now would be to use the protein yourself, you know, get the protein and mix the protein. Now the most common sources of protein when mixing feed are usually soya cake, sunflower cake, and fish meal. Those are the most common ones. Now, if I can manage to get it at a low price and then just mix it with a small, tiny premix, I could formulate this food, which I actually know how to do and I've been doing before. But because of, you know, some inconsistency and inability to monitor, I haven't been doing it right here because I want to make sure that when we are doing it, we're doing it very effectually and very well. So we wanted to first sort some of the logistical issues and the storage issues, because if I want to be buying soya cake and using it, I need to make sure that I get it when the price is low and store to use when the price is high, because its price can really raise, you know, really raise. So now that we have a store, we are able to do that a little bit later on in the future. And now that's something you're going to be doing. It's something that's quite too complicated and I can't share it right here. I'll share it on the Farm Up Academy when it starts in April. So if you know you really want to learn and understand these things, you can wait for the Farm Up Academy. You'll join it when it starts in April of this year, 2024. And then once we start using that and mixing the feed ourselves, then we shall bring the price of the feed even a bit lower and then be able to keep more money to ourselves. And of course, once all that is done, the next step would be to get some equipment, you know, some maybe a hammer mill, simply for grinding the maize, yeah, that we are going to be giving to the chickens, to make sure that we are spending a little bit less on the machinery, and then a mixer to make sure that mixing the feed actually becomes simpler and quicker. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. The guys are in the background doing some work right there. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.